let us continue with the topic. Now we are discussing about types of greenhouse gases. Now let us continue with that. The next very important in controlled greenhouse gases is sulfur hexachloride. Now we haven't discussed about this till now in any topic, right? Sulfur hexafluoride, which is called SF6. Now what is this sulfur hexafluoride? Now this sulfur hexafluoride is an inorganic, colorless, odorless, non-inflammable greenhouse gas. Now the famous word what you use for sulfur hexafluoride is, now it is an excellent electrical insulator, the best electrical insulator. Now this is the term what you have to use for sulfur hexa insulator, sulfur hexafluoride, right? Now this sulfur hexafluoride, by the term itself you can say that it is rich in fluorine. So what happens when they are rich in fluorine, right? As we discussed, this fluorine is an high density thing, right? So it can act as a tracer gas for determining ventilation rates and air movements in buildings. So due to this high density of fluorine and its molecular structure, this sulfur hexafluoride can act as a tracer gas. For determining ventilation rates and air movements. For determining air movements in building, I'll write down the point here. Air movements in buildings and ventilation rates. Right. Now the next one what we will discuss is ozone. Already we have discussed extensively about this ozone in environmental degradation concept. Now, let us discuss the points what we haven't discussed in the environmental degradation concept. Right. Now see here, ozone will act as a greenhouse gas when it is in lower atmosphere. Now consider this point, right? Lower atmosphere means in troposphere, acts as a greenhouse gas. Now how this ozone is formed in the troposphere and what happens due to this ozone when it is in lower atmosphere? It absorbs the infrared energy emitted by the earth, so it traps the heat. Now see here, this tropospheric ozone or ground level ozone is not directly emitted into the air, but it is created by the chemical reactions between nitrogen oxides. Already we have discussed this point. They are not naturally formed in the atmosphere. They are formed by the chemical reactions between nitrogen oxides and volatile organic compounds. Now what are these volatile organic compounds? Your paint, distempers, right? We have discussed in environmental degradation in detail. I am giving only the crux points here, right? Due to this chemical reactions, ozone is formed. Now see here, let us discuss this ozone in detail. How do you quantify this ozone? Because see here, you cannot quantify ozone in particular because they are not present in uniform concentrations across the atmosphere. So generally there will be a 10% effect on the atmosphere due to this greenhouse gas. Now I will discuss about the ozone layer concept here, so that's why it will be very important. Now what is this ozone layer? Right now, earth is wrapped up in a blanket of air called atmosphere, that we have discussed it. Now which is made up of many gases. Now see here, there will be a layer of gas called ozone, which is a form of oxygen, and that is called ozone layer of ozone around the earth. Now this ozone is a form of oxygen, right? Now this is called ozone. Right, done. Now see here, after discussing this global warming and carbon footprints, I will discuss this ozone layer and how they are quantified, and ozone layer, and about ozone layer depletion in the next coming slides or videos. Okay, now let us complete the topic of carbon footprint, right? Because it will be again volatility, that is separate concept. After dealing global warming potentials and effects of global warming, we have to discuss ozone layer and their depletions, right? I will discuss there. Done. The next concept, next very important concept you have to learn is carbon footprint. Now there is a question on this once. Carbon footprint. Now what is this carbon footprint? Any idea of this? Yes. Now carbon footprint is defined as total amount of greenhouse gases produced directly or indirectly to support of human activities, usually expressed in equivalent tons of carbon dioxide. Now this carbon footprint is a measure of impact of our human activities on the environment in general and on climate change in particular, right? Now see here, I will write down the crux points here. What is carbon footprint? Now it is defined as total amount of, the definition is very important, so I am writing on this, total amount of greenhouse gases, GHG, right? Greenhouse gases produced directly or indirectly to support human activities Now this carbon footprint is expressed in general in equivalent tons of carbon dioxide. Equivalent tons of carbon dioxide. Now this carbon footprint is a measure of impact of our activities. Now impact of human activities now on climate change. Now this is a measure of impact of, I'll write down the full point, on climate change. Now this is called carbon footprint. Right, now in general, what you say, it refers to the amount of greenhouse gases in our day-to-day life through burning of your fossil fuels, usage of electricity, heating and transportation. Now this is a very powerful tool in order to understand the impact of human activities. Already we have discussed this, right? Now It shows the amount of carbon dioxide released by their activities, right? Amount of carbon dioxide released. Now see here, there are some gases, some substances which are not greenhouse gases, but they behave like greenhouse gases. Now fly ash, carbon monoxide CO, pollen grains. Now they are not greenhouse gases, but they behave like greenhouse gases. Once it was asked, right? Now according to the emissions of carbon dioxide gas per capita rank, per person, the first country, the rank 1 country is Qatar, right? They emit 39.7 tons of carbon dioxide per year, and India was given 45th rank. Now India emits 1.9 tons of carbon dioxide per year per person, per capita rank. Now in terms of quantity, China ranks first, right? Now India ranks 4th in release of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, right? Now see here, let us discuss the next important concept called global warming. Global warming. Now what is this global warming? Now global warming is an average increase in temperature of the atmosphere near the earth's surface and in troposphere, which can contribute to changes in global climate patterns, is called global warming. Now see here, I will summarize this point. This is very important, right? Global warming is defined as average increase in temperature, average increase in temperature of atmosphere near earth's surface, and in troposphere, right? Now which can contribute to changes in global climate patterns is called global warming. Now, I wrote down the crux point there. Now see here, this global warming can be occurred due to many causes, natural and human induced. Already we have discussed in this at the starting of the topic only, right? Now the major reasons for this global warming is due to increased amounts of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This is the main reason that the scientists have deduced for the global warming, right? Now see here, before pre-industrialization revolution, the atmospheric temperature was about 15 degrees centigrade during pre-industrialization level. Earth's atmosphere is on an average industrialization, it is 15 degrees centigrade. Now currently it is 16.6 degrees centigrade. Now in the next 100 years it may increase up to 0.76 degrees to 0.80 degrees centigrade, it seems. Now these are the statistics. Now it happens due to greenhouse gases, and also we have discussed about global warming potential in the greenhouse gases effect only, so I will not repeat it again. Now what are the possible effects of global warming? Now the first important is that definition itself says effects on weather and climate. It affects weather and climate, right? Next one is, see here, as temperature increases your icebergs will melt, so automatically your sea level will be increased. Next important one, that's why your shore levels are moving towards the landslides, right? Next one, see here, and your animal movement and humans, they will be moving to one place to another due to this increase in temperature, so there will be a effect on ecosystems also, right? And also your agriculture will be affected due to higher in temperatures, more droughts happens, right? Now the first impact of this global warming, more important one, we are discussing this in detail regarding this since ecology topic. Now ozone layer depletion, right? Now before going to ozone layer depletion, I will explain you about the measurements, how to quantify this ozone layer, then I will go for ozone layer depletion. Now see here, this earth is wrapped up with this ozone layer, which is a form of oxygen. Now this ozone layer is very important because it stops UV rays directly falling onto the earth's surface, right? Now see here, this ozone layer, how to know the thickness of this ozone layer and their properties. Now this ozone layer properties was first given by Dobson. Now who developed a simple spectrometer called Dobson meter. Right? Now what this Dobson meter says, it is used to measure thickness of ozonosphere. It is used to measure thickness of ozonosphere. Very important. Once it was asked in a commission examination, what is the device used for to measure the thickness of ozonosphere? Dobson meter. Now it's a special type of simple spectrometer. Now let us discuss about the next units of ozone layer, right? Dobson units. It's called DU, right? Now a Dobson unit measures the total amount of ozone in an overhead column of atmosphere. Now this Dobson unit are measured by how thick layer of ozone would be, how thick the ozone layer would be. Now it is compressed into one layer at 0 degrees centigrade and with the pressure of 1 atmosphere above it. Now see here, every 0.01 millimeter thickness of layer, every 0.01 mm thickness of layer is equal to 1 Dobson unit. This is very important. Thickness of ozone layer, right? Now 1 DU, 1 Dobson unit is equal to 0.01 millimeter. Now this we can write it as 1 millimeter is equal to 100 Dobson units. Now See here, we have never discussed about this. Now this is very important, right? The average amount of ozone in the atmosphere across the globe is about 300 Dobson units, it seems. The average amount of ozone in the atmosphere is 300 Dobson units, now which is equivalent to 3 millimeter thickness. Now see here, we are discussing in detail regarding this. Focus on this, you will get one question on this Dobson units. The next one we will see, now we will see the exact thing of ozone layer depletion. Ozone layer depletion. Now what is ozone layer depletion? Now this process of ozone layer depletion begins when chlorofluorocarbons and other ozone depleting substances are emitted in the atmosphere, right? ODS, ozone depleting substances. Now see here, already we have discussed about this CFCs in general. Now see here, these chlorofluorocarbons are very stable, extremely stable, and they don't dissolve in rain also, and they don't dissolve in rain also, right? Now after a period of several years, this ozone depleting molecules reach the stratosphere. Strong UV light breaks apart this ozone depleting substances, CFCs, HFCs, carbon tetrachloride, and your sulfur hexachloride, and other gases release halogen atoms, right? Now if these atoms are actually there, it destroys the ozone. It is estimated that one chlorine atom can destroy over 100,000 ozone molecules before it is removed from the atmosphere, it seems. Now see here, I will explain this concept in one single line. Now these CFCs are extremely stable and they don't dissolve in rain. Now this CFCs breaks down the UV light apart, breaks down UV light apart. Now these CFCs will react with ozone to release halogen atoms, likewise your chlorine, bromine, fluorine, right? According to the which CFC it is acting. Now see here, one chlorine atom can destroy 100,000 ozone molecules, it seems. Now that's why the CFCs must not be released in the atmosphere, right? Now a US scientist called Molina have theorized that UV rays from the sun would break up chlorofluorocarbons in the stratosphere and freeze chlorine atoms, which finally cause destruction of ozonosphere. Now see here, in one line what Molina, an US scientist, said, right? Now this UV rays from sun would break down this CFCs in the stratosphere, because ozone layer is present in the stratosphere, am I right? Yes. And see here, due to this breakdown, chlorine atoms are released. Now this chlorine destructs the ozone. Now this is the thing. Now see here, ozone upon UV radiation, O2 plus O. This is the reaction. right? Now absorption of UV radiation by ozone layer increases exponentially with its thickness. Therefore maximum amount of UV rays through the atmosphere reaches this tropic region that is near the equator. Am I right? Upon destruction of this ozone, directly your UV rays will be reaching to the Earth's atmosphere, right? Now concept what we will deal is ozone hole. Now what is this ozone hole? Now this ozone hole was first discovered in Antarctica, right? And also it was confirmed in Arctic region in 1990. Arctic region in 1990. Now see here, this ozone hole, technically it is not a hole, right, where no ozone is present. But what this is actually a region. This is technically not a hole. This is actually a region of exceptionally depleted ozone zone in the stratosphere over Antarctic that happens at the beginning of southern hemisphere spring. Now this ozone hole is not technically a hole. It is a region of exceptionally, I'll write down this point, right, because this is very important, exceptionally depleted ozone in stratosphere over Antarctic that happens in beginning of, I'll write the complete point, southern hemisphere beginning, southern hemisphere spring, sorry, not beginning, southern hemisphere spring. Now this is called exactly ozone hole. Now how do you measure this ozone layer? Already we have discussed this by Dobson holes, by Dobson units, right? Now see here, your ozone layer thickness is 300 to 350 Dobson units, what we have calculated. Now see here what happened. This ozone, due to this ozone hole, this layer of ozone is decreased down to 200 Dobson units, right? Now this is actually called ozone hole, right? Done. Now this is called ozone hole. What are the effects of this ozone hole? Now see here, your plant DNA will be damaged because this UV rays will be directly attacking the biotic factors on the earth's surface, and it will be reducing your photosynthetic activity. Now cataracts and eye disorders can happen in human beings, right? One more important one. And it can affect your immune system badly. It can affect your immune system, right? Now see here, as photosynthetic activity is decreased, and also decrease in abundance of phytoplankton will be happening. Decrease in phytoplankton will be happening due to this ozone hole. Now what happens when decrease in phytoplankton occurs? Now these are the source of food for fishes, right? Now automatically they starve and fishes also die, right? Now this is what decrease in diversity of aquatic organisms, right? And also one more important one, it causes mutations. Mutations means unwanted changes in the genes of the humans or your biotic factors, right? And see here, it causes skin cancer, right? Now these are the effects of ozone holes. Now in the next video, let us discuss about the causes of climate change and also the causes of formation of ozone holes. Right? Done. Thank you.